as she said in her own words, we're both in our Eagles green here. I will take that. I feel like this is a little bit of a lighter green, but anyway.
It looks
Um,
Kelly to me.
Welcome back to Right as Rain. I'm here with Phoebe McClernon, defender for your Seattle Reign, number 21, if I remember correctly. I'm like very good at numbers usually. Um, Wanted to sit down with Phoebe to talk a little bit about her journey here because, as I mentioned to her before we started off camera here, head coach Laura Harvey mentioned some growth points after the Houston match. And, I was like, hey, yeah, it's been a lot of fun watching Phoebe grow over the course of your now fourth year here in Seattle. So it's like, hey, let's talk about that. So, Phoebe, first of all, before anything else, because as someone who also played as a defender, I know it's a lot of things, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, there's a lot of pressure that can be on you. How in the world did you start playing as a defender? Because every kid, I'm sure, they want to score goals, they want to be, whatever. How did you get into this where it's like, yeah, I'm really good at this and I can do this at the professional level?
So I'm the youngest of five kids. I have two brothers and two sisters. And my oldest sister, Farrell, played soccer the most competitively out of everybody else. Everybody was in sports, but she was a soccer player for sure. Went on to play at Boston University. And she was a forward. And I think like growing up, all of my siblings had this urge to like make ourselves independent and unique from each other just because there were so many of us. So when I got into soccer, I think I was just drawn to the opposite of what she was. Like I loved the sport because I watched her play so much, but I didn't want to be a forward because I didn't want to be compared to Farrell. I wanted to be my own player and I don't know, I guess create my own identity. And then my brothers helped with that too because they would make me physical, you know, being the youngest.
Well, that at least reminds me of a quote that Laura had, and I think in your first few years in here in Seattle, Bella Munson and I, Bella with the Equalizer, and I always think about it. Is Laura, I think at some point said that one loves a tackle or something along those lines. And I was like, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually when you say that. Um, so then I'm curious, just I know this is going to be a big jump from, oh, how'd you start playing defense to this, but how would you reflect on your journey, since being traded here? Because obviously 4 years is a lot of time. A lot can happen over the course of a regular season in of itself, obviously in this league.
Yeah.
Yeah, how would you just sort of uh describe that journey yourself, whether it's personally, because obviously the Pacific Northwest is a different place than where you came from, and even went to college at. Uh, you know, from, maybe not starting as much to someone who, I believe you were at the Portland match this year, if I remember correctly. And, Laura, and at least some of us, at least on the media side of things, were like, it's very noticeable when Phoebe is out. Obviously, it's tough, but yeah, just your growth, however you see that, since the trade here.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are like a few intangibles about me that I have latched on to anchor my identity through my soccer career. Like most notably my grittiness and my willingness to work hard. And I think off the field pressures when I got to the professional level started to nullify those things. So like if I had issues off the field in my personal life that I wasn't dealing with because I'm a very avoidant person with my problems. I don't like to admit that I have them and I don't like to ask for help. Um, when those things started to pile up in my life, I was no longer able to just like put my head down and work through it. I
Mm.
couldn't just run through the wall. You know what I mean? Um, and being here and being away from family and like being on my own really forced me into a position where I had to figure out how to mature in my emotional capacity as an adult. Um, and I think that maturation off the field has made me an exponentially better teammate, an exponentially better soccer player, person, friend, whatever you want to name it. Um, and I think that's probably my biggest takeaway from my journey at Rain.
So that, you mentioned the maturation as a teammate part, just what has it been like? Because I'm sure this person has helped you in parts, as well as other teammates as well. But having Lou around, it seems like different people we speak with all the time. Like I remember, I think during the 23 season, asking there was some question about culture because I'm a sucker for that. I'm sure with the Eagles, a good team that has culture will go far.
Yeah.
Um, but hearing about Lou, oh, it was Veronica who got emotional talking about how much she loved this team and the culture that's been built here, at least on the defensive side of the ball. Just what has Lou been like as a teammate, as a person? Because obviously we only see so much of it, but we hear about it in how the culture is built. I know it again, it's Jess, it's a few other people, but on this defensive side of the ball with Lou, what that's been like being her teammate these last 4 seasons.
Um, I think like the thing that's special about Lou, and you could say a lot, but she just has no arrogance. Like there's no ounce of elitism despite her like numerous accolades that you could attach to her name and like the prowess that she holds on the field and who she is as a soccer player. You would never know as like a rookie coming onto the team that she is this icon of the NWSL. She has been in the league its entire span and she has left her mark on the league every single year with greater and greater degrees. And she walks into the locker room and she treats everybody like they are her best friend and like they deserve to be there. Um, and she just hasn't, she makes no assumptions. She's just not arrogant. She's so welcoming, so warm. If I'm ever struggling and I feel like it's a stupid reason to be struggling, I'm never scared to go ask Lou because I know she's not judging me. She just wants us to be the best team that we can be. And I think having that person as a leader in this club is invaluable. Like it doesn't really get better than her. I've been on teams where you have the person who like has that leader archetype, but like doesn't really allow that to translate to other people on the team. And Lou has a really special way of being able to bring everybody in and make it a team-oriented goal.
That, yeah, that all sounds like it makes sense. I mean, just everything you hear from Lou, and expect like working with Lou, obviously, and interacting with her. None of that's surprising, but it's always interesting, hearing it from the people that are in the locker room with her every day, in the going to war with her every day.
Yeah.
So, to kind of continue on, you working on things, right? And one thing that stuck out to me, and early in the season, uh, obviously, the club the players that were here that experienced what happened, last year wanted to improve upon defensively what took place and, be better defensively. Heard a lot about watching more film this year, working with Scott Parkinson more defensively. But I don't remember what open training it was earlier this year, but everyone was done. Everyone was leaving the field. You were still there and you wanted to work on something running up along the sidelines with Scott. I was just like fascinated, because again, my tiempos are in my closet. If I ever need to play defense again, they're there. I will not. Way too out of shape for that. But it just struck to me that, you're still working there. You're still trying to, improve upon things. So just can you speak a little bit to the, improvement of the defense this year? Obviously, there was that rough stretch with um, Portland and Chicago. Sure, that happens over the course of a year. It would be great to have a clean sheet every single week. Um, but yeah, it's just been such a huge turnaround to see that because I know I mean, at least in the last few years since I've been doing this, have been so strong defensively. Can you just speak a little bit about what you've seen, maybe even your own efforts to turn things around, or how you maybe addressed whatever took place last year? Because I know there's a myriad of things to deal with. It wasn't just strictly soccer on the field that day, right?
Yeah.
Just the turnaround from last year and however you've seen it, where I know there's still games to go, but you know,
Yeah, for sure. I guess speaking to last year, I think we came away from a lot of games feeling like we weren't that far. Like we weren't that far from being a very stout defensive team. And I think like you can credit that nearness to a number of factors. It was probably my first season with the Reign where I was getting consistent minutes as a starter. So like an increased level of pressure there possibly. I think JB was starting. She's very young, was getting to know the tactics of what we were trying to do because she's like an incredible instinctive player. And sometimes our instincts can be our worst enemies. And for her, 99% of the time, it's her biggest asset. So I'm not saying this in a negative way at all, but I think in terms of like cohesion, it's difficult if we're not all on the exact same page to go execute a game plan. And then I think Soph leaving was tough, especially because I did feel like that was a point in the season where we could have caught stride and maybe made a push to make the playoffs. Um, and then injuries and every other factor that always goes into it is obviously ever present and always going to be an issue, but it's something that you can hopefully work around in years like this year. And then I think in terms of like progress from day one of preseason to now for us in terms of like where we've taken things to the next level. I think there's a newfound grittiness about our back line and like a newfound um determination to throw ourselves on the line and make sure that we are an extremely hard team to score on, an extremely hard team to beat. Um, I don't think you can always control the way the game's going to go, but I think that you can control your effort and your attitude. And I think that's something that we've done a really, really good job of doing this year. Um, and then I think the last part of that is I think Claudia's really come into her own this year, and I think she's developed a voice for herself on this team. And I think she's taking a much bigger step into that leadership role and she's demanding more of us. And I think when you have that type of relationship where you can be demanding of each other in not a negative way, in a positive way, it's like, I want you to do this because I know you can do this. It's really empowering and it's really cool to see. And I think it extends beyond just the starting four or five of whatever the back line is on there. I think you see Emily Mason coming into games and making incredible plays. She's a rookie in this league, and you would never know it based on the ways she has saved this team this year. It's truly so cool to watch. She's such a fun story. You should interview her next.
Oh yeah, no, it's always fat. I don't remember what quote it was, but Laura mentioned her defensively coming in. Yeah, because yeah, we'll see her come in these last few minutes. And that was one of my fun storylines in the beginning of the season was your guys' defensive depth. Because you go down you, Lou, Shay, JB, Emily Mason, get Sophia back, Ryan Brown's coming back at some point. Like it's again, as a defender at heart, this is always very fun to look at. So I'm going to end you off with some more fun things because we've been doing this hard, like reflect on stuff, sort of thing. So if the rain season notebook notes, match media notes, whatever are accurate, your coffee orders a iced dirty chai. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've been straying away from the chai. I
Hmm.
haven't been, I'm not like a sweet girl, so a chai
Okay.
is like a nice balance for me, but I've really not been wanting sweets lately. So I've just been doing iced Americanos, but a chai isn't exactly wrong.
So for either of those, then with the Americano or the chai, where in the Pacific Northwest have you found the best of those? Because obviously, Seattle prides itself a lot on the coffee and things like that, right? So is there a best location? Because it's always fun, especially on the Storm side right now. One of their rookies, Mackenzie Holmes, like every walk-in photo, she's got a different cup. And people are like, where is this from? Where is this at?
Yeah.
And it's always interesting to get like, different players get asked that all the time. What coffee places are you going to? Because usually they end up going to like, I don't know, ones people don't like. I'm like, hey man, I don't make the choices. These is where these people are going. So
For me, it's definitely current. It's Current Coffee in West Seattle on California.
okay.
It is my favorite place in the world. I love all the baristas that work there. Shout out Tyler. He owns it. He is the best and makes the best coffee. And I love it there.
I will have to I've written that down, so I'll have to check that out. And my last one for you with we're gonna end with the Pennsylvania, the Eagles stuff. Okay. Have you been able to go to any of the games around the city? Because obviously Seattle's got so many different teams in addition to you guys.
Yeah.
Where I don't know how much of the Pennsylvania teams that you follow, right? Obviously, I've seen the
Um,
Eagles a few times.
I
So
follow
like,
all of them with the exception of the Flyers for
oh
any.
no, I was gonna ask because the Kraken just released their third jersey today. I was like, anything about the Flyers coming to town? Because it's
Not
always
the
cool
Flyers.
seeing.
I
No,
was never
is
an
it
ice
hockey or just
girl.
the Flyers?
It was just hockey. My family wasn't a hockey family, but
Interesting.
you can ask me about any of the other ones. Actually, don't ask me about the Sixers. You can ask me about the Phillies and the Eagles.
Well, we need an MNBA team back. It would be great if Philly had or Pennsylvania had a WNBA team.
I'm
Uh,
sure they're making a bid. They have to. We
oh
got
yeah, I'm sure. I was gonna say, is that something, because I'm sure you'd like to see that, because Philly's, I've heard a lot. I have a few friends in Philly, um, and folks here. Oh, I have a gritty here somewhere, actually.
no
I don't
way.
know. Yeah, it's again, not things I thought I'd be speaking to you about this morning, but with the PWHL expanding and the WNBA keep continuing to reach, and I don't know when the NWSL will get there. I know they've got Boston, but I don't think either of us is a big proponent of Boston as a sport. See, I love doing these because so many of you are so very relatable. I'm not surprised, but it's so cool to hear that. So, yeah, I guess, is there any words you'd have for women's sports expansion in the Pennsylvania area to wrap you up here?
I just do it. Let's get a team out there. Why not? I think the union does awesome. So it would be really fun to have an NWSL team in Philly.
There you go. That's Phoebe McClernon. That's Philly, I guess.
It's Philly. Let's go. Go Birds. Thanks.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, where are you going to watch all the away games for Seattle Reign FC this year?
Away games. Well, since Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that makes a lot of sense. See y'all here.